Everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Dawn, do we have a quorum? I guess we don't have anything to vote on today, but it would be nice to know where we're at.
Ray Dardis?
Here.
Dan Hammer?
Here.
Myself? Mr. Captain?
Don, you're really difficult to hear for some reason.
Is that better now?
That's better.
Is that better? Okay, I moved my computer up here. Okay, Ms. Mastel? Mr. Capitan? Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Here.
Mr. Steen?
Here.
Mr. Olson?
Here.
Mr. Selgevold?
Here.
Mr. Strand? And we do have a quorum. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dawn. And welcome again to everybody. Next item is approval of the minutes from April 21st. They're in your packet. Do we have a motion?
Steen, move to approve.
Jake, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 3 would be the approval of the order of agenda. Is there a motion to approve or anything that needs to be adjusted?
Steen, move
Dan
to
moves.
Steen, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion opposed, same sign. Motion carried. And Jennifer, you take item 4 would be the communication plan.
That is correct. Let me share my screen. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you see my slide presentation?
Yep.
Great. So just want to give a quick overview of where we're at in communications right now. You know, we just had the successful award for the P3 partnership. So that shifts a whole different direction and what we're doing with communications, because we have to connect with the Red River Valley Alliance, who will be our P3 partner. There is some work still happening with that to sign the final agreement with them by mid-August, but one of the requirements that I have is to make sure that we have a communications plan in place, so we can not only function from a leadership perspective within the Diversion Authority of itself, but also as a guidance for Red River Valley Alliance as they are onboarding with us over these next several weeks, to have some structure around what they should be doing from a communications perspective as well. So some of the priorities we have at this moment with that new partnership is just making sure that we take that shift towards building the right climate with them, because we have a strong need to ensure the project success to be on budget and on time, and then also conduct everything as safely as possible. So communications will be a key factor in that, and making sure that we touch all the necessary areas needed to wrap our arms around this as we join this partnership. So I just want to go back to a slide that I had presented before, just to give a overview of where we're at with communications in general, all of the areas that we are touching with communications. We have external, which is everything within the community. We have internal, which are all of the entities that are working together on this project. And that's a massive piece of what we're doing, because there are so many different areas doing with their own internal communication groups that are partnering together on this project. We have everything that we're sharing with the media, initiatives. So that would be our P3 award that we just had, the legislative funding that we were charging to be successful at. And then we also have things like functional, which are day-to-day operations. The leadership communications is everything with the board, the committees, the MDFA team as a whole. Crisis communications. This is an important piece now that we're in this construction phase, because we want to make sure that not only we're safe for all of the workers that are coming to join this project to build out the channel and other pieces of the project, but also for the community. So it's really important that we have some combined effort with the with Red River Valley Alliance on that as well. Events. So we had the event that just happened recently for the award on the partnership, and there'll be one coming up in August as well to sort of kick off more of that construction for the diversion channel and highlight some other successes on the project. And then we have our channels, our communications channels, which would be our website, our social media, print, video, different various ways that we're reaching our community through these channels. And each of those have quite a bit of effort that goes behind making sure that those are successful as well. So, you know that we just recently updated the homepage of the website. I think it looks fantastic. It was a great kicking off point for us to get to that next phase with that. Something that we're working on, excuse me, something that we're working on now is looking at the next phase of that to build out the rest of the site in the way that's needed for the project here through the end of the build phase till we turn it over into operation and maintenance. We need to make sure that we have the right pages in place where we can post information about the construction or about traffic. We had talked about in one of the previous meetings doing some type of thermometer or tracking on the project to track the progress of the project. So that's something that's still on the to-do list that we're going to put on that website when we get that built. So we're looking at a target date of maybe around November for that, and you'll hear more to come. We'll share some more information and come back to you for ideas and just some guidance before next steps on that. But going into some of the priorities that we have. So the communications plan in general, we're looking out for the next 18 months just for the MFDA as a whole, so we can ensure that we have the right things happening to get us started off on the right foot with this partnership. And some of those things that we have been in discussion already about are just connecting the communications teams by mid-August is our target goal. We've already had some informal interactions there already just to get to know each other. And so I think we're going to be able to hit the ground running with some work by mid-August. So I'm really excited about that opportunity to partner with the P3 vendor on that. Also just aligning, we have so many various entities working on this project in general, and with a new partnership coming on board, we need to make sure that we align on the branding and the language that we're using for how we're describing the project, our templates, our shared information, where we're putting that information, and how we're able to get it to each other. So we are working on that, and also just strengthening the communications workflow and procedures and protocols, ownership, and notifications. So right now, you know, there are some things that sometimes goes out to the community without necessarily having everyone's eyes on it, and we want to make sure that there's a better process in place. So we have the right people involved with taking a look at that information, ensuring that the right information is being shared, and then we're also getting it signed off in time. So we have a good process there. Also, just being a little more proactive about, how we're planning for those things. So looking out ahead of when we know we're going to be sharing communications, or planning a communications calendar for certain events that are happening throughout the year that we know we need to get ahead on some of the local events, or key dates that we need to be cognizant of, and then major project milestones that we want to identify and celebrate, or even share information on, whether it's in the press or the community. So some of those things are happening now and getting past us, but we're looking at being a little more proactive about how we can get ahead of those things, so we can not only share the right information with those who need it, but also be able to celebrate our successes along the way. Also activating an annual auditing system. So, we have so much that's happening at a fast pace on this project. We are ensuring that we'll be able to come back with that P3 partner and other entities involved on the project by auditing them on an annual basis to make sure that they're still staying in line with the plan that we're putting in place, and just the expectations there, so we can continue to be successful on all sides. Also, just identifying who our audiences are. So, it's shifted a bit. Before, we were trying to, just share the need for this project in general, but now that it is, moving forward at such a rapid pace, we want to make sure that we identify all of the key people that will be impacted during this construction phase, and have the right view on those stakeholders and how we can engage with them, what channels we need to be able to be connected with them, and how we're sharing that information as far in advance as possible, so we can make sure that we keep the community and businesses and townships and local associations just as aware as possible, and also just for our own internal stakeholders to be able to share that information and identify where we can do a better job at that. And then enhancing that partnership with communications between the Corps and Cass County, Clay County, that all of the entities involved. There's so much stuff that's happening on this project that really needs to be strengthened, where we all have sort of an alignment from that communications perspective. So one of the things that I'm also working on is sort of like a communications reset, where we're going to tap the key communication individuals, not just at the P3 partnership, but also across all of the entities working on the project, so we can ensure that we are all on the same page and knowing where the right information is for branding, or for templates, or for who needs to approve what, and make sure that we understand what's happening in all of these different areas, so we're all on the same page going forward. And then also formalizing some of those communication channels. I know we're in that process with the website now, where we're making a transition there, but we're also taking a look at all of our social media channels, our podcast, our various ways that we're communicating out, and just looking how we can maybe clean up what's there to make room for some new information, and ensure that we have the right type of cadence going forward, because there's, I think things have been just posted online a bit randomly so far, but we have the right people in place now where we can make sure that we're sharing information timely and accurately, here going forward. And then focusing on community and construction safety. That is a big portion of what we need to ensure for success in this project and the shared plan with Red River Valley Alliance going forward. It's not necessarily just about communicating and sharing the information out, but we also need to make sure that the community that's impacted has all of the information they need to feel confident in what we're doing as a project. And then also for, the construction workers who will be coming and working on this project, ensuring that there's a good plan there for their safety and awareness. And this is basically the overview of what we're putting together in the plan. I've met with Red River Valley Alliance, and it looks like we're already in very good alignment with the way that we're approaching this from both sides. But again, our target date is mid-August, where we'll have that plan finalized and submitted, where we can take that forward. So in the meantime, I just wanted to share with you a little bit about what we're putting into it, open it up for any questions or feedback from this group, and then be able to share that final plan, closer to mid-August, when that will come into play. So I will stop there, and I will stop sharing my screen and open it up to any questions that you might have.
Okay, do we have any questions? Jennifer, I do have a question.
Sure.
Would you be able to share who Red River Valley Alliance has engaged in their outreach communications?
For their communications team?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good question. So from what I know so far, they do have some internal communications team in that Red River Valley Alliance group, but they also have partnered with Flint Communications locally. Now, all of this is still, in the works of having their final signatures on documents for that partnership mid-August. But so far, that's who they have partnered with here locally, and seems like a really fantastic team. I'm really excited to work with them once we reach that mid-August date.
And then one more question. When it comes to responsibility between the P3 and their communications team and our communications team, and responsibility if things didn't happen right and issues have arrived, are we at the top of the pyramid?
That's a very good question, Roger. So there is, the Diversion Authority is the top of what's moving this project along. But even if something happens and, a mistake in one of the other groups, I think it's always going to come back to us. So that's where I do feel a heavy responsibility to make sure that we're aligning with not only the P3 partner, but all of the other entities on this project as well, to ensure that we're talking and engaging more on the various communications that are happening on this project. Because even if something happens in one of the other areas, it comes back to us, more often than not. So I don't know if that answers your question. I don't know if that's the best answer, because it still comes back to us, but it is the reality of this project.
Yeah, it's an important part. My hope is there'll be no serious injuries or deaths from this project. Mm-hmm. I know it's a huge project with a lot of disruption, and probably I'm asking too much of that, but certainly that would be my hope, that our communication in all channels would further that safety. And I think that's a very important part of our communications here. Is there any questions, any other questions for Jennifer? Put your hand up. I'm on the computer here, so.
And while you're waiting for that, I'll just share, that's where in the buckets of communication priorities that you saw, crisis had its own bucket. It is a top priority to make sure that we are doing all that we can to get ahead to prepare for any situation that might happen, but to be as proactive as possible to hopefully mitigate, where there's so much awareness that no situation happens. It's what we hope for, but we'll do our best to get around that as best as possible.
Okay, thanks, Jennifer. Not seeing any hands up. Do you have more to share with us?
Not at the moment. There's quite a bit going into making sure that this plan is solidified with the Red River Valley Alliance. I think it's a great partnership there. Really excited about the opportunity to work with them on this, and I think that you'll see some really good stuff coming once we reach that mid-August date.
Something I'd like to share with the committee is tonight and Thursday night, there's going to be an event at the Hickson Community Center from 5 until 8. And what's happening there is we're going to engage the company that's Watson Associates that's been working with our ag insurance program, and they will be presenting to farmers in the staging area tonight and tomorrow night. So that's, in my mind, is kind of a big event. It gives the farmers a chance to ask a lot of questions, and it's a good outreach to impacted landowners. All right, I don't have anything else. Anything from the committee? And Jennifer, I don't have a printed copy of the agenda. Could somebody put that up again? And I think all we have left is next meeting, maybe?
Sure.
Yeah, next meeting. Next meeting will be August 25th, 2021.
Roger,
Yes.
this is Bernie. Say,
Yeah.
Today on the radio program, WDAY was out at Leonard, and Roger was on part of that program. And I think it was apparent. Roger did a beautiful job in answering some of the questions, but he was there to celebrate the fact that they were in Leonard. But there was also questions that were directed with regarding to the diversion, because they know the important role that Roger's played in that, and particularly with the producers and the landowners. And so, Roger's earlier comments, I think, are absolutely critical on staying out in front of everything. Don't wait for the media to call us. If we have an issue, if we have as Roger indicated, a possible injury or whatever, to be as transparent as we possibly can and proactive. It's like when the bid came in for the P3, it was highly encouraged that we reach out to the media and we schedule the communications with the public about what the bid letting was all about. And I think that's the critical part of what we have to continue to do, is that let's be control of our own destiny and stay in front of everything. But nice job this morning, Roger. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bernie. Yeah, that was Joel Heitkamp on KFGO, and they were in Leonard at the Leonard Cafe. I went up there, and Rusty Halverson is kind of the ag guy on there, and he's been talking to me about ag issues on our farm and the area farms with the drought. And he had kind of drawn me in and asked if I would kind of be able to give a little update. And then I suggested to Joel that he maybe advertise a little bit about the meeting tonight and tomorrow night. And that's how it kind of went this morning. It wasn't really a setup for the diversion, but it did end up, we had a few questions that I took. So thanks again, Bernie. Anything else? If not, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Jake will make that motion.
Thanks, Jake. Is there a second?
Campbell.
We are adjourned.